Welcome to Studying with KJ. Today, we'll be going over simplifying fractions. Now, before we get into solving some example problems, let's go over a couple definitions. So first, what is a simplified fraction? A simplified fraction is a fraction in its lowest or most reduced form. In this form, the numerator and denominator of the fraction are reduced to the point where the greatest common factor between them is 1. So what is the greatest common factor? A greatest common factor is the largest number that is a factor of two or more numbers and that can evenly divide into those numbers. So now that we have that out the way, let's get into some example problems. So example 1, 4 over 8. Now in order to reduce that into its simplest form, our first step is to find the factors or all the factors of both 4 and 8. So let's write 4 and 8 at the bottom. So our first two factors of 4, we know off the bat, are 1 and 4. Because 1 times 4 gives you 4, and you can divide 1 and 4 into 4 evenly. Our last factor of 4 is 2. Because 2 times 2 gives you 4, and you can divide 2 into 4 evenly. No need to write 2 twice. Or writing that once is enough. So now let's get into finding our factors for 8. So we know off the bat, our first two factors of 8 are 1 and 8, because 1 times 8 gives you 8, and both 1 and 8 can be evenly divided into 8. Our last two factors of 8 are 2 and 4, because 2 times 4 gives you 8, and you can divide both 2 and 4 into 8 evenly. So now that we've found all the factors of both 4 and 8, let's find the greatest common factor between both 4 and 8, and that is 4. So now that we found the greatest common factor of both 4 and 8, we can divide that into both the numerator and denominator of 4 over 8. So 4 divided by 4 and 8 divided by 4. And when you do that, you get 1 divided by, or 1 over 2, excuse me. And that is your most simplest form of 4 over 8. And we know that because the greatest common factor of 1 and 2 is 1. So now let's go on to number 2, 8 over 24. Now we know our first step is to find all the factors of 8 and 24. So let's write 8 and 24 at the bottom. And we know our factors of 8 because we found that in example problem 1. So our factors of 8 are 1, 2, 4, and 8, right? All those can be evenly divided into 8. So now let's find our factors of 24. So we know off the bat, our first two factors of 24 are 1 and 24, right? Because 1 times 24 gives you 24, and both 1 and 24 can be evenly divided to 24. Our next two factors of 24 are 2 and 12. Because 2 times 12 gives you 24, and both 2 and 12 can be evenly divided into 24. Our next two factors are 3 and 8. Because 3 times 8 gives you 24, and both 3 and 8 can be evenly divided into 24. And our last two factors of 24 are 4 and 6. Because 4 times 6 gives you 24, and both 4 and 6 can be evenly divided into 24. So now that we found both the factors or all the factors of 8 and 24, let's find the greatest common factor between both of those sets of numbers. So the greatest common factor of 8 and 24 will be 8. So now we can divide 8 into both 8 and 24 of our fraction. So when you do that, you get 1 over 3. Because 8 divided by 8 is 1, and 24 divided by 8 is 3. And we know 1 over 3 is the simplest form of 8 over 24 because the greatest common factor of 1 and 3 is 1. So now let's go on to our example problem 3, 9 over 21. So let's write down 9 and 21 at the bottom so we can find their factors. So we know for 9, the first two factors of 9 is 1 and 9, or are 1 and 9. because 1 times 9 gives you 9, and both 1 and 9 can be evenly divided into 9. And then our last factor of 9 is 3, because 3 times 3 gives you 9, and 3 can be evenly divided into 3. And we only need to write 3 once. So now let's find the factors of 21. So we know 1 and 21 are our first two factors. And then our last two factors are 3 and 7, because 3 times 7 gives you 21. And both 3 and 7 can be evenly divided into 21, just like 1 and 21. So the greatest common factor between the factors of 9 and 21 are what? 3. So now we can divide 3 into by 9, or divide 9 by 3, and 21 by 3. And when you solve that, 9 divided by 3 is 3, and 21 divided by 3 is 7. And that leaves us with our simplest form of 3 over 7. And that concludes today's lesson. Remember, the more you go over these type of problems, the better you'll get. Thanks for studying with KJ.